Welcome to this community newspaper's Facebook party, Excellence in Education. This is Marta Perez, and our mission is to expose and inspire excellence in education. Please follow us on Facebook, and if you have questions, send them via our chat room. Now, allow me to introduce a very important person in attaining excellence for education for students in Miami-Dade County for many years. And this person wore many hats in Miami-Dade County Public Schools. He was not only a teacher, he is currently the head of schools at Fisher Island Day School, an independent non-for-profit school on Fisher Island. His name is Mr. Michael Bell. He has held this position as the head of school for Fisher Island Day School for 11 years. And that is very remarkable to be a principal for 11 years of one school. But he came to it with great experience. Prior to this position, he had a very distinguished career with Miami-Dade County Public Schools, where he was instrumental in the implementation of choice programs, magnet programs, charter schools. He was a teacher, rose through the ranks to become an assistant superintendent and excelled at all of his positions. He has vast experience and has really dedicated his life to teaching and learning. Please welcome Mr. Michael Bell. Thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure to join you. Thank you for having me, Dr. Perez.
Thank you. And I've known you for at least 22, 23 years. Tell us, Michael, you have had a very distinguished career. Tell us about your background and how you grew up and how you became a teacher, an instructor, etc.
Well, I grew up in this town. I was a Miami native, and I come from a very old family, and I was educated in Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Very, very proud of that.
Where did you graduate?
I graduated from Miami-Killian Senior High School.
Wow.
And
that was the end of the world in those days.
I know it was. There weren't even traffic lights out there. But somehow in my education career, I was always fascinated with being the helper for the teacher. Like if they wanted a bulletin board done after school, I was volunteering to do that. I don't know if it still exists anymore, but there was a club, Future Teachers of America, and I became a part of that in high school. And we had opportunities to, work with younger children, and it just sort of blossomed through the experiences of my own education as well as the extracurricular programs.
What did your parents do?
My father worked for AT&T. It was, I think, Southern Bell back then was what it was called. And my mother worked for the school district as well. She was a principal secretary.
Oh, okay. And siblings?
I have one brother who's very close in age to me, and then another one who was a good 20 years older. So
okay. So I know that on your Facebook page you have pictures of your family, and I know that is been important throughout your life. And so when you decided, so you knew you wanted to be a teacher.
Yes. And
so then where did you go to college?
I graduated from Florida International University and stayed local in
back
1979. That was also an outpost back then.
One campus, right?
One campus. And at the time, believe it or not, it's very different than today, there was a teacher surplus. And
I do.
One way that you could get a job was that if you were a special education teacher, because they were high in demand. And I knew that I wanted to teach, and I hadn't really thought about what age or group. And so I pursued, my degree was in special education. And that's how I started with the district.
That is a very noble profession, because those are very special children. And I find the parents are very special because so often they feel guilty about whatever problems their children have. And so I think that's a very honorable way to start your career. And speaking of parents, Michael, current you have been through the gamut because you've taught special education, then you've seen the problems of students in Miami-Dade County Public Schools that we serve everyone, and now you serve a population of students that many people would say are the privileged. They have the parents that we all pray for,
right?
Because they have not only in most cases the financial means to help their children, they have the time and the interest. They're interested. They're willing to go an extra step in putting their children in a school that they feel is better. How do you think the importance of that parental involvement in a child's life, and what can we do to make it so, if you've thought of this, for other children who don't have as interested parents, to be able to have the same experiences?
Well, I think that, many of the lessons I learned from my time at Miami-Dade County Public Schools. One thing about schools is I do feel that they are the great equalizer, because regardless of what your financial background may be, when you're in a school, you're wearing a school uniform, and kids are kids. So whether they come from privilege or not, I don't find that there's really any difference
Really?
In that. Parent involvement is hugely important, and I think that, even in our small independent school, we have a lot of it. But just like the district faces, there's also people who are very busy and can't be as involved. In terms of getting people involved, though, I feel it's very important for the school to be a hub for the community where it is. And we really try to do a lot of activities to bring parents in. We start off being social because that's the best way to get them there. And you start building community that way. You build it through your parent association. We have a PTA, much as any other school does. And
how active is your PTA?
It's very active. They're very social.
And when you mean social, what are the things that you do to bring? What do parents like?
There's several times a year, the PTA will organize walks for the moms, so that they'll all meet at South Point Park and go for a walk.
Oh, that's very nice.
They might hire a aerobics instructor to do a lesson for there. Sometimes they do evening socials. There's book clubs that are going on. And also at our monthly parent association meetings, we always try to have a guest speaker as part of it as well, usually about some topic that will enhance their ability as parents. Because I think that once you have that community that's solid and behind you, the rest happens naturally, because they start talking to each other and sharing ideas.
So how important is money in education? Currently, I don't know if you're keeping up with the school district, but do you know how much money we're going to get as a result of the pandemic? Have you heard?
I
to be
spent. So tell me.
You won't believe it. You're going to say, just for Miami-Dade, you're going to fall off your chair. 1.1 billion.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But it is non-reoccurring. It's a dilemma. Non-reoccurring. So we can't say we're going to give it, in teacher salary and be able to attract the best, exceptionally more teachers or improve the teachers' conditions. And it's going to have to, much of it will be going into mental health services, et cetera. So we're going to have money, but if you were currently in Miami-Dade County Public Schools and you heard that news, regardless of whatever program you were in, you'd say, well, there's going to be some monies to be spent. Do you think that will be able to translate into student achievement?
I think the mental health aspect definitely would, because I think that we've certainly seen the need for mental health intervention as we work our way through the pandemic. It does sadden me that it's a one-time shot and that there's probably restrictions with that. because when you ask me the question about money, yes, it is important, money well spent, but obviously the best place you spend it is on your teacher salaries. And as the district has become very competitive because you've supported your teachers with higher salaries, we in independent schools have also had to raise the bar in terms of what we pay our teachers. And I mean, you know, as a former teacher, I think teachers walk on water and they should be paid greatly. And I think that investiture in human capital in terms of paying teachers what they're worth, in terms of providing them the support and the professional development is huge. And all of that comes with a price tag. I mean, my school budget is no different than many of the budgets in the public school. Most of that budget is going to go to pay for the people who work in the school.
I am sure that your budget, if you look at percentages, is very similar to ours. Our biggest expense, of course, is payroll, which is probably yours as well.
Absolutely is.
But in spite of that, Michael, I will tell you that we have seen a lot of burnout this school year with our teachers. I don't know if you have experienced the same, what things are like, but even now for the summer program, you know, some teachers are saying, we don't, you know, we're not going to work. We need a break. But so if you were given for your school, if you were given a big lump, but it would not be reoccurring, where would you put it?
I think that professional development is huge, because even though I do believe PD needs to be reoccurring, I think it could be a good start. You know, we just like you do in the public school, we look very carefully at the results of how our kids are achieving and find how we can do better and work on continuous improvement. And I think that like I said, it should be recurring, but that is a certainly good place to start, is invested in how you can better develop your teachers. And then the other piece is, I know that I believe the governor had approved a bonus for sort of COVID combat pay. I'm very proud to say that our board of trustees actually did that very early on in this year, because we realized what a tough year it was. And you know, quite frankly, we gave teachers a bonus because it's a hard job without the pandemic, and then to deal with that job with the pandemic makes it doubly hard.
Absolutely.
So make them feel appreciated, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, and you know, some days it takes a lot. It's been a horrible year, and that we're only talking now about teachers, and never mind about the students. That's a whole other category. I don't know about the students at your school, because as we know that your parents are involved and you have a good community, that if one parent tells the other, you know, they sort of get the word out. But it has certainly been challenging. Now, Michael, you have been the head of school for 11 years, and that is not easy, to stay at a job for 11 years in education where the results are the results. Sometimes you put all of your heart and soul into the work, and everything is measured through student achievement, and sometimes students achieve and sometimes they don't. So staying in your job for 11 years is very commendable. It's like the superintendent. You know, Mr. Carvalho has been a superintendent for 13 years, and that has a lot of merit, because it's not an easy job. Why do you think you have been so successful as the head of school at your school? What characteristics do you think you possess to take you to help you sail through more difficult things?
You know, I think part of it is stubbornness, and that's probably not a good adjective. I should say that I'm tenacious, but there's this stat in the private school world, and I don't know if there's a parallel in the public school world, that most heads of schools in the private schools get fired within the first 2 years.
I'm not surprised.
And they say that if you can make it past your 2 years, you will probably be there for a long time. Now, I don't know that stat going into
Yeah,
it.
well, superintendents, you know what the average tenure is?
No, what is it?
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I think, yes, there is tenaciousness. And, I'm going to credit my experience at Miami-Dade County Public Schools, which was hugely diverse. I think that there is this mystique that, public schools and private schools are vastly different than each other. And, we could go through the list of how they are. But, surprisingly, there are more similarities than there are differences. But as I have approached any job there's common values that you have with your community. And I always try to anchor on what we have in common and build on that, because there's going to be differences no matter where you work. And I think that if you can find, what your common goals are and keep focusing on that, shaking off those disappointments. And of course, this year was a year for the record books. I feel that now that we've gotten through this year, we can get through anything.
Michael, and what in your life, in your short life, do you think has been your greatest success, or something that has made you very proud? Can you think of certain things that you would like to share?
I was very proud of our accomplishments in the district. I had a very supportive board, which you were part of, and I think that we were able to bring in my department of choice at the time, I think $40 million in federal grant money to really support school choice. And I'm very proud that it's when I left, that didn't end. It has continued to go forward. So I'm very proud because we've created opportunities for students.
Oh, yes.
And that is a legacy I'm happy about. And I feel in a smaller way, I'm still doing that in Fisher Island Day School.
And yes, and congratulations, because I do believe that school choice is one of the things that has made Miami-Dade County Public Schools the best. It's really the best urban school district in the United States. And you can share in that accomplishment, because it makes a difference. And, when you speak to other large school districts, as I do in conferences, etc., you realize how far ahead of the game we are. And so often it's because we're giving parents the choices. Now, it brings other problems, but it's like everything else in life, the good and the bad. And so tell us, though, about those are some success that you're very proud. What have been some of the biggest challenges that you have faced professionally, if you would like to share, that you could help another person that would hear you today not have to face?
I think that, age brings this, I think the only thing about getting older is the wisdom that you acquire. And so I think it's...
Oh, and also the stats are that people over 60 are happier than all the other age groups. Did you ever hear that?
No, but I do believe it's true, because I feel very content at this point in my life. I think that I've gotten better, and if I could impart this advice on anyone younger than me listening to me, is about, shaking off those disappointments. I've tried to read a lot of biographies or memoirs from people who were successful. And, one that always sticks out to me is the Steve Jobs one, about the fact that the company he built, he once got fired from. And how that and I know that there's a big movement in even educating children about how you develop grit. You're not always going to get the ribbon for everything you do. Sometimes you're going to fall down, and it's what you do when you fall down to get back up. So, there have been career disappointments, jobs that I didn't get. And, how you move forward from that, I think, tells more about who you are as a person than being a victim.
Now, we talked about the importance of teachers. And they are absolutely, and we see that in when we look at research, teachers are once students are in school, that's the number one most influential thing for students' success. As a principal, as a charismatic principal, the you don't love all your I mean, you love all your teachers like you like you love our children, but there are some teachers that are exceptional that you just look at and they know what you're thinking, and others who are more challenging. How do you balance the fact that everything in nature is on a bell-shaped curve? You're going to have fabulous teachers, most in the center, and a few that you need to work on more.
Well, I think that you try to be as servant as a leader as you can be, to provide them all of the resources and scaffolding, just like you would students, to make sure that they can be successful. And, the interesting thing with personalities is that, I'll be honest with you, there are some adult teachers who I think are wonderful with kids and not necessarily the greatest people with adults. I also always look for where is the motivation coming from. If you're in my office to ask me for something and it's for your students, I'm going to find a way to support that. If it's for yourself, there's there's a limit to what how much we're going to help you out for your personal needs. But if your motivation is doing better by the kids, and then the other piece, which I'll be candid about, and I would say that for my position as a head of school, you're an elected official who requires to be reelected. At times, you provide the help and the support, but if it's not working out, then it's time to part company.
That must be tough.
It is tough.
That must be. Not a good day. The day you have to make that decision, I think.
It's not, but I also say that a lot of people come to realize that on their own. It's not, the point where it becomes something that's mandated or one-sided is actually rarer than you think. Most people have that realization.
And not everyone was born to teach. No. Now, I always am very fascinated with what school districts around the world, how students come to be so successful. The 10 most successful school districts in the world are in Asia and Northern Europe. And I know that you have traveled. Have you visited other countries and their school districts?
I have. Most of the school districts I visited have been in mainland China, because I was very fascinated with what they were doing. I did learn a lot. I mean, culturally, it's just so vastly different, but there's also a lot of similarities in terms of what they do that we either do here or that we could bring to here. Yes, we should do.
Such as what?
I think that they spend, they really do invest a lot of time at looking at the master works, whether it's literature or the arts, so that when they are creating new, it's very grounded in, the masters of literature and the arts. And in many cases in China, they're also using not only Chinese artists, but Western artists as well. I think that, the respect for education in Asia is inherently different than what we sometimes experience here. I find that they seem to have fewer discipline issues,
absolutely,
and things like that. But that was definitely a takeaway. And then the other thing that I've tried to do, especially now that I've in the private school world, is I chair accreditation evaluation committees throughout Florida. And that gives me a chance to go into other independent schools and for their 5-year accreditation evaluation. And you kind of look at the school from soup to nuts. And what I most like about that is that I feel like I'm there stealing ideas the whole time, because then I come back and say, I want to do this in our school.
Do you have any fabulous ideas that you think perhaps all school districts should use, we should use, and really it's not being done?
I feel like I'm tooting our own horn at Fisher Island Day School. One of the things that attracted me to the school was I felt like they had all of the elements that needed to be in place for education, and some of them might be considered soft skills in other places. Like our kids have art 2 times a week. They have music 2 times a week, daily physical education, daily recess. We have an organic chef. We're very conscious of using sunscreen, making sure that our kids are properly hydrated. And I feel like when all of those pieces are humming,
Mhm.
you get a better product.
Yeah, absolutely.
And nutrition,
Uh-huh.
taking that break. When I first got there, I thought, oh, there's too much recess. But you know what? No, those kids are learning.
Are learning absolutely. Oh yes, the difference too with so many things, are mandated by our state.
I
We have
know.
to do. I know during the pandemic, some of the requirements, and teachers would look at us and say, "But why can't we, have another day off, or just, some?" And we weren't able to because of the mandates. So it is challenging, but then again, we have to be considerate of who is financing this, which is the public, and so that's how it is. So in closing, I'm gonna
All right.
because unfortunately time, look, I can't believe it's almost
very
over.
quickly. You are
Very
correct.
quickly. Do you have a hero? Tell us about, if you have a hero, if not, and tell us also what you would like every parent to know and do for their kids.
I think in terms of heroes, it would be plural. So I'll be very brief, and it sounds trite, but it's true. Is that I really do credit my parents. They had a tremendous work ethic, and that work ethic was a role model that served me well when I joined the workforce. And then I had countless role models at the school districts, people who not only were my boss and my supervisor, but who mentored me. And I would not have been an assistant superintendent if the person who I had worked for at the time had not really given me the opportunity to experience all that it took. And then there was another part to your question about
kids. Well, you would want what you would like to say to a universal statement to parents.
A universal statement to parents is be that good role model. This is, I'm very proud to live in this country. It is the land of opportunity. Be that role model. Show them what it takes to get ahead in this world, to have grit, how you pick yourself up when you fall down. And that's the best thing you can do for your kids. Be there.
Michael, thank you so much.
Such a pleasure.
Time
thank you.
flew away, and we're so proud to having had you at Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and to have you in our community and continue to do such fine work. Come back and visit us anytime. And thank you all for listening, and join us again for this program, Excellence in Education.